So can everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So let us let us start our class. And before we start our class, we'll briefly look what we have studied, and then uh, we will look into some of the question answer discussions, and then we'll start our new topic. Okay. So in the last class, we were talking of what are the different strategies for the strain development. So we looked into one minute. Okay. So we looked into what are the different strategies of strain development, starting from that means when you are going to produce your desired product. So how do we modify? So generally, suppose you are going to develop a stain, a microbial stain that is used for for example, the production of for example, yogurt. So you know that we use so from the milk. Okay, we make, for example, the curd. Okay, and that is being done by some sort of a microorganisms. Okay, so those microorganisms, for example, are generally they release some sort of lactic acids or some sort of acids which converts, for example, the milk to curd, or milk to for example, the cheese or any other milk based products, for example. Okay, so there are some mixture of microorganisms which are there and which are being used to convert the milk into different products. Okay. Now, how do we isolate those microorganisms? For example, if you want to, so generally the microorganisms that are there in this type of basically is called lactobacillus. Okay, and lactobacillus species. Okay, so lactobacillus. So there are different strains of this family of the lactobacillus are there. So and which have their different, for example, different capacity to produce the lactic acid and so on. So you need to, for example, select a particular microbial host. Okay, and then you carry out different modifications, strain development techniques that are there to improve the productivity and the yield, that it is able to produce the higher concentration of the lactic acids, or it is able to uh, utilize the high concentration of the substrate, as well as it is going to produce the high biomass concentration. So the concentration of product is represented by P, the concentration of substrate is represented by the S, and the biomass concentration, that is the concentration of the cells, okay, is represented by the term X. Okay. So whenever we are writing in our class the P, S and X, so this would represent the product, substrate, and the cell concentration or the biomass concentration. So there are several strain development techniques or technologies that are there, and we look into that. So like for example, we talked about the natural microorganisms. So for example, if you see the milk, if you see some of the microorganisms that are extracted from the soil, is used for the production of some sort of antibiotics. Okay, so we extract the microorganisms which are responsible for producing one of the targeted antibiotics. So we will see. So generally, means the natural organisms, they have some disadvantages. That is, they have the lower growth rate, the lower product formation rate, as well as the low concentration. Okay, that is there. But we modify the means this wild strain into such a way. There are several techniques or modifications, and selecting the appropriate microorganisms which will have the higher reproducibility. Okay, so also one of the important thing is, when you, for example, what happens, suppose you have a microbial, you have a cell. Okay, so it undergoes cell divisions. So everyone knows, I'm sure everyone has studied in class 10, at least in that different divisions of the cell. So whenever there is a cell divisions taking place, that means a particular cell is making a number of or multiple copies of them what is happening? The genetic material, suppose the DNA that is there, that is undergoing some changes. Okay, so there are sometimes some phenotype or some genotypic changes, and that are there, and because of those changes, for example, their productivity and the quality or the concentration of the products that it is going to produce, that is suppose going to change. Okay, so which is not desirable when we are developing the industrial strains, because if you see the industries, they would like to have a strain which is having very high productivity, and the quality of the concentration should be consistent. So for example, if you are looking in that food industries, which are for example food industries or the alcoholic beverage industries, they would like to have, for example, the quality of the product and the concentration and the yield of the products to be almost constant. Okay, and the quality should be consistent, so that every batch they are producing, it should not be different than the other batch. So how do they maintain such type of consistency in the quality of the products? Okay, so that is being developed, that is being maintained through the development of the industrial strains, which actually whenever they undergo this type of increase in the cell concentration, so those type of genetic changes are not there. So we make sure that it doesn't undergoes any type of phenotypic or the genotypic change. Okay, and they maintain their the high productivity, and so they maintain their quality and the concentration of the products that is being produced. Okay, so that is why the industrial strains are very much important. Other than that, we have seen that it should be tolerant to the high substrate and the product concentrations. They should be genetically stable, we already talked about, and they should be able to utilize the cheap resources, the cheap substrates, and convert. Also, they should be able to convert the byproducts, for example, that are being produced by any fermentation. So if they can convert the byproducts into the targeted products, so overall the yield of the particular product will is going to suppose significantly increase. Okay, so this is some of the advantages, and we will look into the techniques by which we can modify those industrial strains, taking selecting from the wild strain. Now, these are some of the ideal characteristics that we already highlighted, and that it should be genetically stable, high rate of productions, fewer byproducts. Another thing is it should have the reduced oxygen demand, okay, and decreased foam formation. So, I'm sure many of you have already have heard or studied the heat transfer, mass transfer for fast transfer of any systems as such. So similarly, in the case of the bioreactor, we already talked about that there is a formation of the foams. So because large different means large varieties of different varieties of the proteins are actually released whenever this microbial fermentation is carried out, and because of their surface tension, there is a formation of the foams which actually suppose float on the top of the bioreactors. Okay, and so which actually means it is not good for the fermentation process. Okay, so generally we need to have a microorganisms in which these extracellular protein formations are reduced as much as possible, so that the foaming is not done. Foaming is not, because the presence of the foams leads to some high possibility of the contaminations from the other microorganisms as such. So like this, there were reduced oxygen demand, decreased foam formation. And one other thing is that the microorganisms should be resistant to sort of infections or to sort of any other contaminants that are there, right? So we also saw that there are other characteristics, like if you see the optimum temperature at which the microorganisms grow. Okay, so the optimum temperature should be around 40 degrees, because suppose uh, so if you see that fermentation of a the fermentation process or the growth of the microbes is equally accompanied with the generation of some heat. Okay, so generally it's a exothermic reactions. So whenever you are growing the biomass at a very high cell concentration, a lot of amount of heat is generated. And for example, if your optimal temperature for the growth of microorganisms is 25 degrees, so in the bioreactor you need to supply the cold jacketed water, okay, to maintain that constant temperature of 25 degrees. Okay, so if you want to So if you are developing a microorganisms in which the optimum temperature for the growth is suppose around 40 degrees, so whatever the heat that is released by these microorganisms during the metabolic activity can actually be used for their growth. Okay, so that will help in improve the biomass concentrations, and as the biomass concentration improve, it will lead to the improvement in the product formation. Okay, so this is the some of the ideal characteristics, and then we talked about the productivity. So the productivity in the microorganisms is always measured in the change in the concentration, which is gram per liter, in the per unit time. So per unit time, how much the increase of the concentration of the product is takes place, and how much the concentration of the substrate is, for example, decreasing with time. So these are some of the ideal characteristics of the industrial strain. And we looked into also that what are the strategies of developing the industrial strain. Like you have to isolate, you have to screen, you have to identify the metabolites, be it the secondary or the primary metabolites. You have to maintain the microbial metabolites. So once you have identified your targeted, for example, microorganisms, you need to preserve them, because as I told you, for example, in the food industries, okay, and the beverage industry, you have to maintain the quality, and that the whatever the products that is being produced, it should be consistent in terms of not only the yield but as well as the concentration and the quality. So we need to store them in such a, so there are some techniques by which you can preserve these microorganisms. Okay, so that their genetic there is no so that it doesn't undergoes any genetic changes. Okay, so there are techniques to do storing of that, so we will look into those techniques. And then we have to also improve the stain. So there are different genetic engineering approaches, RDNA technology, where by which you can actually modify this wild stain or the natural stain, so that means it can be incorporating, so that they can able to incorporate the ideal characteristics of the industrial stain into the wild stain. Also, for example, we also looked into what are the techniques of the stain improvements. So, like the gene cloning or the recombinant technology, the interspecific protoplast fusion, and then the others like the screening, some of the chemical modifications or the biotransformations. So, these are the techniques by which we can improve the we can actually carry out the stain improvements. Okay, and then we look to into one of the example, like if you have the penicillin notatum, which is a natural stain, it is having lower productivity, and it grows on the static condition, which is not the case for the bioreactors. So bioreactors, we generally have the impeller, the baffles, the agitators, the erection devices which pass the oxygen and so on. So, so it cannot be cultured if in under this penicillin, which is a natural stain, it cannot be cultured in the bioreactors, which are and they are in the industry. So, this was another microbial organism is penicillin cryogenum. Okay, so this was used and it was mutated. Okay, so we will see how the mutations are taking place. It was mutated, and after mutation, it was found that it is now able to grow under aerobic conditions under the stirred fermenters, which is there, or the bioreactors, which is there in the industries. And along with that, there is a 50-fold times increase in the yield of the penicillins. Okay, so you can see that it can overcome that the scale up problems. Okay, as well as it is showing the improved yield of the product. So this is one of the example. What is the advantages and why is it required to improve the strains? Okay, and coming to that, what did we learn in the last class? So after that, you should be able to answer the following questions like, what are the strategies of the strain development? Okay, then coming to question 2, what are the differences between the wild strain and the industrial strain? So can anyone of you tell what is the difference between the wild strain and industrial strain? So let us have a discussion that I have already told you that we will be having such discussion. So anyone would like to answer what is the difference between wild strain and industrial strain? Ritesh? Hmm? Ritesh, Vishaka, anyone?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell what is the difference between wild strain and industrial strain?
So basically, wild strain is the directly what we get from the nature, the microbe that we identify that can help us produce the product. And we make changes in the wild strain to convert it into industrial, which produces the targeted product but in a better yield.
Okay, okay, good. So from which department are you, Vishaka?
The chemistry.
Okay, good. So anyone else? So next, what are the ideal characteristics of the industrial stains? Can anyone tell at least 5 characteristics or something? Some characteristics. Animesh,
Yes, sir.
can you tell some of the characteristics?
So 5 characteristics of, sir.
The industrial stains.
Yes, sir. So, so they have a rapid growth and have genetically stable,
Mhm.
sir, and they're non-toxic to human beings.
Non-toxic human and anything non-toxic to
And
human beings.
so they have a cheaper substrate products,
Okay.
ability to use cheaper substrate products.
What about the substrate and product concentration?
And concentration. Sorry.
Hmm?
Sir,
So it should able to withstand the higher substrate concentration
yes,
and
sir.
the higher product concentration, right?
Yes.
Okay, Animesh, good. So and then comes anyone. So what are the 5 main steps for the development of the industrial stains? Hmm? So we have seen. Anyone else? What are the 5 main steps? Rahul, Rahul Kumar. Rahul, are you there? Satish? Satish Kumar. Your people are not there. Okay. Anyone else can tell what are the 5 steps? So we have just seen, right? And that these are the 5 steps: isolation, screening, identification, maintenance, and the stain improvement. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So anyone can tell the question number 6, what are the disadvantage of the production of the penicillin and how, for example, the mutated strain of the penicillin cheirogenum helps in improving the yield and how does it helps? The 6 and 7 are related questions. So can anyone tell the answer? So we have just seen. So hmm, Sinchan, Sinchan Mandal,
Yes, sir.
can you tell the 6 and 7? What is the disadvantage of penicillin notatum? Sinchan, can you tell? Yes or no?
Sir, no, sir.
Huh? We are teaching in the last class. This class also, I just briefly described you. Even then,
Sir, I joined late, sir. Means I don't have this question.
any of the questions in that slide you can tell. We have studied in the last class also. We have not studied in this in next. So I am teaching in the last class. Then I am summarizing what we have taught in the last class in first 5 minutes, and then we are discussing. So even if you give attention now, or if you're today you're late, but earlier class you must have gone through, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, so we have just seen that the productivity is lower in the case of the penicillin notatum, and it is having the lower yield. Okay, and it is grown in the static culture. and the Penicillium gyrogenum, it is having the higher yield, that is 50-fold times, and it can be grown in the stirred aerobic fermenter reactors. Okay, so generally our bioreactors in the industries are stirred fermenters, and we purge, for example, the oxygen or the air to maintain the aerobic environment. So this is the advantage. And one thing it is also very important to note. See, if you see in my slides, the microorganisms are named are written in italic, right? So why is it so? It is a type of a method. Like whenever you are writing the name of microorganisms, you have to suppose in the slides or in the word file you are writing, so you have to write in the italic. And when we are writing by hand, in your for example in your exams, for example, you are going to write in the copies, so you have to write the name and then you have to underline it. Okay, so this is, I think everyone knows, this is a basic way how you are going to write the name of a microorganisms, and this has to be followed when you are writing your answers, for example, for your mid semester or the end semester examination. So if I find that you are not underlining, for example, the name of the microbial species you are writing, okay, so in that case your marks will be deducted. So you should be careful always, and you should remember, especially from the non BC or non departmental students, you should remember that you have to always, whenever you are writing the name of the microbe, you have to write it and underline that. Okay. So let us continue our discussion from where we have finished in the last class. So last class, so we have seen that there are different techniques of how we can isolate and mixture of microorganisms, and we can screen them. Okay, so screen them for the new products, or for example, screen them for the bacteria or the microbes which are responsible to produce your targeted products. So for example, we have taken the example of the volcanic system where we have the mixture of microbes. Then today we just talked about the extraction of the microbes, for example, from the milk, or for example from the curd, or from the cheese or any other thing. So how do we extract our desired microbes from any particular source, and then how do we modify those microbes so that it can be used in the industrial systems? Okay, so what is the term screening means? The screening means it's a procedure of isolating and detecting and separating the microorganisms of your interest. So we know, like in the, for example, the milk, we have a lot of different bacteria of the lactobacillus, for example. Okay, so it is of the lactobacillus, for example, the species. Okay, so when you are having this means a mixture of different microbes, so the lactobacillus species can be of like one or two or three different types of mixtures that are there, suppose. Okay, and one is suppose producing at 1.0 gram per liter, others suppose it is producing at 10 gram per liter, some another it is producing 5 gram per liter. So you have to screen out that from this mixture of this microbial culture or microorganisms, you have to select out that which particular microbe is actually producing the maximum concentration of your desired or targeted product. Okay, so what is the screening? It is nothing but just isolating and detecting and the separation of the organisms from the mixture of the microorganisms that are present generally in the natural systems. Okay, and what is the two types of screening that are there? It is called the primary screening, or it's called the secondary screening. Okay, so we'll look into what is the primary screening and what is the secondary screening, and what is the difference between the primary screening and the secondary screening. So in the case of the primary screening, we detect, okay, and isolate that particular desired microorganisms. Okay, so it is some sort of a qualitative technique where we qualitatively just detect that which microorganisms is responsible, for example, for the production of the high concentration of the lactobacillus. Okay, and we just isolate it, we separate it out from the mixture of the microbial culture system. Okay, but we don't measure means what is the concentration and what is that yield and all those things. We don't measure it in any some sort of any mathematical data. So what is the secondary screening? So secondary screening actually provides you the broad range of informations. Okay. So it gives you both the qualitative as well as the quantitative analysis. So as we just took that last example, like in the means when you are suppose extracting the bacteria from the milk, you are getting different species. So just detection of an isolation of a particular species is called the primary screening. And now, for example, you are finding out what is the concentration of the biomass of that particular microbe in that mixture, and you are calculating how much lactic acid, for example, it is producing. So you are expressing it in some sort of a mathematical terms, right? So that means that is nothing but a quantitative analysis. Okay, so when you are going to do some quantitative determination, then it comes under the category of the secondary screening. Okay, and in that secondary screening, what are the other means what are the quantitative extraction quantitative data that we find out is that like their ability or the potential of the organisms to produce a particular metabolites. Okay, so that means how much, for example, that substrate you are giving some substrate to the microbe and that is converting into product, right? So how much of the substrate is getting converted into product. Okay, then we just talked how much is the yield of the product, like what is the concentrations and what is the productivity, overall productivity of the of that particular selected microorganisms. Then what is the type of fermentation process. So we have seen that there are generally means if it is going to grow in the presence of oxygen or air, then it is aerobic. If it is going to means produce in the absence of oxygen, for example, then it is an anaerobic process. And then we have seen that we have for example the batch type fermenter, we have the fed batch. Okay, and then we have the perfusion, right? So for means in which fermenters systems, so actually they will be able to produce. So those type of informations are determined in the secondary screening. And then there is another thing is elimination of the organism. So from the mixture of those microorganisms, you need to eliminate some of the non-producing microorganisms. Okay, so which are not responsible for the production of any particular biochemicals, but they are just produced because they are, if those non-producing microorganisms are going to interfere with the producing microorganisms. Okay, and in what terms they will interfere? They will interfere with the growth media components or the substrate that is present. Okay, and so we already talked about that we have to do the quantitative analysis, like what is the yield, what is the conversion of the substrate to the products, and so on. Another thing is like the sensitivity analysis. So for example, you are producing a particular means a biochemical which is suppose the antibiotic. So whatever means most of the so I am sure you means the last example like we have taken production of the antibiotic penicillin. So most of the antibiotics which we are using in the medicines, they are generally produced through the fermentation approaches by many of the pharmaceutical industries. Okay, so means so when you are producing this for example the antibiotics, we need to you need to quantify, or you need to so what is antibiotics doing? Antibiotics are working to kill the microorganisms. Okay, and there are different means spectrum of antibiotics that are there. Okay, so you need to means quantify or characterize your product. Okay, so can anyone tell me that what is the spectrum of the antibiotics? Have you anyone heard of the term antibiotic spectrum?
Broad spectrum and narrow spectrum.
Yes, good. So antibiotics generally are having the broad spectrum and the narrow spectrum. Depending upon the means range of microorganisms that it is working on, and each of them have their own advantage and the disadvantage. So along with these two means classifications, there is another third classification which is very newly coming up, which is called EBL, that is extended antibiotic spectrum. Okay, so extended antibiotic spectrum in this case, which we will see in details later on, like what is the extended antibiotic spectrum. So generally we know that there are gram positive and gram negative microorganisms. Okay, and onto which, for example, the antibiotics can work on. But there are some microorganisms which can actually degrade these antibiotic molecules. Okay, so for that we have the extended antibiotic spectrum, on which means on different wide range of antibiotics it can work on. Okay, so we need to, for example, you are going to produce the antibiotic. Okay, so now you have to find out that in which category it falls. Either it falls under the narrow spectrum or it falls under the broad spectrum. So we have to determine the sensitivity of that particular antibiotics. Okay, and you have to characterize them. So all those things actually comes under the category of the secondary screening. So like we talked about that lactic acid, the productivity, the yield, the biomass, all these mathematical terms, okay, they will come under the secondary screening, and just isolation and detection will come under the primary screening. Now, if you see the what are the important primary screening techniques, the primary screening techniques are generally of 4 types. Okay, and they are classified upon depending upon the biochemical it is produced by the microorganism. So some of the means some of one first classification is on the organic acid producers. Okay, so in which generally some sort of acid is being produced by the microbes, and that so when the acids are produced, what is happening, the pH of that means process is going to change as the fermentation is carried out, and that is being used to means to be detected using some sort of a dye. So generally we have some sort of a color change when the organic producers are producing that particular organic acid as your product. Another is the antibiotic producers, and that can be detected by the crowded plate technique. So we will look into that, what is this crowded plate technique into this class. And then there are another classifications microbes which produces the extracellular metabolites. That means the metabolites are being released from are produced outside the cells. Okay, so that is actually screened using a technique called oxonography. Okay, and then there is a technique called enrichment technique, in which we can, so means there are means this technique is especially used when we have your targeted microorganisms in very small quantities. Okay, so we design the your growth media in such way that it can differentially and selectively isolate that microorganisms. Okay, so when we have very small concentration of any particular microorganisms, we add some sort of a media component which makes it suitable for its growth. Okay, so suppose you have mixture of microbe and you have, for example, one particular strain that you want to isolate. So what you do is you prepare a culture media component in such a way that this means we add some sort of a media in such a way that this particular selected microorganisms will be suitably grow, and whatever the other microorganisms are there, they will not have the ideal environment for their growth. Okay, and if they don't get the ideal environment, they will be separated out. Okay, so overall concentration of these cells will be lower, and these cells will be significantly higher, and then it can be separated out, and then we do some sort of subculturing to purify or to get the pure culture of this type of microbes. So these are the 4 general techniques of for example for the primary screening. Okay, and so this slide actually tells you about the differences between the primary screening and secondary screening. We already talked about that, so everyone can just go through it. So here we are just isolating and detecting the microorganisms. Okay, and in this case we are actually quantifying. So the quantifying is something that is what is done in the secondary screening, and quantifications of like the yield potentials. Okay, so we will look into what is the yield potential. Okay, so yield potential, as I talked about in the means that S to P, and that means how much substrate is converted to the product. So whenever suppose in a fermentation you are giving a carbon source. Okay, so the carbon source, for example, is the substrate. Okay, and this substrate, when the microbes are acting or eating or of this taking up this substrate, so they are what will do, they will actually increase the biomass concentration. That means they will increase the cell count or the number of the cell density, and next thing that they are going to do is they are going to increase the means the product concentration. So these are the 2 things that can happen. Okay, so yield potential actually quantifies the yield potential generally represented by the term Y. Okay, and it is of two types or more than that. Means basically mostly used are these two types. Okay, so it is represented as y s to x. Okay, so how much of the substrate is converted to the biomass or the cell concentration, and how much of the substrate is converted into the product. So these two values, okay, so the change in the concentration of the substrate to the change in the concentration of the biomass, or the change in the concentration of the substrate to the change in the concentration of the product, for example. So these two actually gives you the quantification on the efficiency of these particular microbes in conversion of the substrate to the biomass and the substrate to the product. Okay, so these are the terms which are basically used to quantify the microbes, the selected microbes during the secondary screening. So these are the basic difference. Everyone should go through this table of difference between the two components, and we have already discussed the definitions of these two. So let us now look into let us go into that primary screening technique, and let us start with the crowded plate techniques. Okay, so what is the crowded plate techniques and how it is used for the production of the antibiotics. So you can see in this crowded plate technique. So here you can see there is a flow chart, okay, which will simplify, means how this what are the steps that are being followed when you are going to carry out, for example, this crowded plate technique for the screening of the antibiotic producing microorganisms. So for which microorganisms it is going to means for which type of system, so it can be used only for the microorganisms which have the capability to produce the antibiotics. Okay, so this production of the antibiotics is one of the very important fermentation process, especially in the bioprocess, especially in the pharmacy industries or any biochemical industry. So generally this technique is used for the microbes which are producing the antibiotics, and the technique actually starts with an initial soil sample. Okay, so we first of all we take the soil sample, and we dilute that soil samples, okay, with several factors. So generally if you take, for example, the initial soil sample, so it generally consists of very high concentration of the microbes. Okay, so generally what we do is we do the several serial dilution. Suppose if you have the initial stock of for example 10 gram per liter soil, so generally we take the soil and we add either the water, okay, and then we dilute it. Okay, so when we dilute it for example by 1/10th, okay, or 1/100. So we dilute it by several factors, 1/1000s. Okay, so when we dilute it by several factors, then after dilution we we take the very low concentration of so we take very low concentration diluted sample, and then we grow it on a agar plate. So when we grow, so what we do is we take the very diluted soil soil sample, and we plate it on a agar plate. So this agar plate actually contains the growth media components which is suitable for the growth of the microorganisms that is present in the soil sample. Okay, so we take a very small volume of that soil sample, and then we take the agar plate and we just put this drop of this and we streak on the plates. Okay, so what happens when we have, so here you can see we sprayed a solution of that soil, okay, and on that plate, and it contains generally so these solid plates are generally made of agar combined with some sort of a growth media, so which will provide the substrate for the for the growth of the microorganisms that are present in the soil. So one first step you can see is the serial dilution. So you have to carry out the serial dilutions in such a way that you tend to get the individual colonies. So one of the problem is that if you just culture this part like means 1/10, so generally we have very high concentration of the microorganisms, and we cannot see. So generally the microorganism grows in very big lumps in that case. But as we dilute down, what happens? The microorganisms can be seen grown as a single individual colonies. Okay, so that is the right way of culturing any plates. And why is it so? Because if we are growing in a single individual colonies, we can isolate these colonies. Okay, and then we can culture it in the test tubes to increase its concentration, and we can make the multiple replica very easily. Okay, if we are going to select these, they generally have the mixture of different microorganisms, and the separation is not done properly. So if we are diluting down this concentration, okay, we will find that the colonies are now growing as a individual colonies. White colonies generally we found on the agar plates, and then we select the one of the colonies which contains that particular pure culture, and then we increase the concentrations and we prepare the stocks. Okay, so this is why we carry out the serial dilution. Okay, now coming to the point. So first step we have done the serial dilution. In the second step, what we have done is the plating on this type of agar plates, and then the third plate is the incubate. So what we do once we have plated, we have coated this diluted solution on the agar plates. We now incubate in an incubator. Generally, we do it at for example, around 32, 35 or 37 degrees Celsius, and we keep it, for example, timed for 1 day to, for example, to 2 days. Okay, so almost from 24 to 48 hours we keep it. Okay, and what happens? What we found is that there is a growth of these individual colonies. Okay, so we can find the individual colonies made up of the pure cultures. Okay, so pure cultures means only one type of microorganisms are there in that particular colony. Okay, so we can find there is an individual colony, and no one, no means non means no, because you can see in that yellow and white and red. So these are the mixtures of the microorganisms that are present, but they are growing in as individual colonies. So that is very important. So whenever you are going to optimize your dilution factor, you have to optimize in such a way you are going to get the individual colonies. Okay, so when you get such plate, that particular plate is called the crowded plate. Okay, so when you have that plate in which we have this type of individual these colonies, this particular plate is called the crowded plate. And if this microorganisms is actually producing, for example, the antibiotic, what we will find that after growing for more time duration, since your targeted organisms will start to produce the antibiotics. Okay, you will find there is a zone of inhibition, because when the antibiotics are present, we know the antibiotics kill the microorganisms, right? But some microorganisms produce antibiotics themselves. So when there is a production of some sort of antibiotic by these targeted microorganisms, it is going to inhibit the growth of other or the non-producing microorganisms around this periphery. So the neighboring microorganisms cannot grow because it is releasing some sort of antibiotics continuously. Okay, so from by looking at the zone of inhibition, so this one shows one of the cultured plates. So here you can see it is a plate in which agar plate which contains the growth media. Okay, and that makes it suitable for the growth of the microorganisms. But suppose some sort of means this type of antibiotic producing microorganism is there, what is happening? So it is growing in this particular place. Okay, but it is releasing these antibiotics. Okay, and around this periphery, and because of that, the other, you can see this white part, the other microorganisms that are there, they are not able to grow in these particular regions. Okay, so this is your targeted microorganisms. Okay, so you are able to isolate 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 colonies of that microorganisms which is producing these antibiotics. And what you do is now you take out this we take out this particular colony, and then we do the culturing of it, so that we can make the high concentration of that particular stains that can be developed into the industrial stains. Okay, so this is the overall step. So if you look into the definition of this the growth inhibitory zone. So as I talked with you, told you that they are producing the antibiotics, and because of the antibiotics around this periphery, the microbes are not able to grow. So this zone is actually called as a zone of inhibition. Okay, and it is also known as the growth inhibitory zone. Okay, so once you find out your targeted culture, then you carry out the subculturing, okay, subculturing or repeated streaking on the plates, okay, so that you get the very much purified culture. And so always you would like to have a, so we already talked that in the industrial stain we would like to have a means a microbe which is of a particular this culture should be of a particular single microorganism rather than a mixed culture. So we do the subculturing so that we can extract the pure culture, okay, from this type of mixed cultures. Now coming to the point, so this is actually means a very briefly it summarizes the steps. Okay, so like we already discussed, so it's point by steps, like you take the soil, okay, and you dilute the soils to the different concentrations, and after that you take very small amount. So you can see that's 0.1 ml is enough. So 0.1 ml is around 100 microliter of that diluted solution is actually strict on the plates, okay, and then it is grown or incubated for 48 hours, and we find out the plates in which we have the large amount of individual colonies, okay, and these particular, for example, microorganisms are taken out containing individual colonies, and then and then for example they are they are strict on another plates, and we can see for example the zone of inhibition. So here also you can find the zone of inhibition, but if you take a particular plate, a particular stain, and if you grow as an individual, you can find the larger zone of inhibitions, and then this particular is microorganism is isolated and it is carried out subculturing to get the purified culture. Okay, so once you obtain the purified culture, and then you make the stock culture of that purified of organism, and then you actually use it in your industrial fermentation, okay, or you use it in your use it for the storage and the preservations, okay, that can be used for the for the future activities. So this is how we can see that stepwise. So it's the first step, okay, then you incubate, means you make the serial dilution and code is the second step, you make the incubate, it's the fourth step, okay, and you make these plates which comes on the fifth step, and then you separate which the sixth and the seventh. So these are the main steps that are there when you are doing this primary screening of the culture. But you see that there are some limitations, okay. So like for example it is being used for the production of the antibiotics, but from and so we see that it is able to make a zone of inhibition, and then you say that okay, this is antibiotic producing, but we cannot actually specify that whatever the antibiotic molecules that are produced for which type of microorganisms is it at, is it can be used, can it be used for the gram positive, or it can be used for the gram negative. So that classification is actually cannot be done within this crowded predicate technique, and a slight modification is being done in the traditional approach. So what is the slight modification? So the slight modification is that when whenever we are plating this for example we get isolate this producing microorganisms. So what we do, we for example culture these microorganisms in several test tubes to make the stock culture. So after you get the stock culture, there are some additional steps. So what we do, we plate this stock culture on, for example, two different plates, okay. So what will happen when you plate that culture on the two different plates? This cells will start to make, for example, the colonies. Okay, and then after that we coat with the two test organisms. Okay, so one test organisms may be the gram positive ones, and another test organisms may be the gram negative ones. Okay, and after that time period, we just see how much how much is the zone of inhibition. Okay, so like this we generally get the plates in which if if it is going to inhibit the production of the gram positive, and then we will find the zone of inhibition, and if it is not affected by the gram negative, then this zone of inhibition will be absent. Okay, so depending upon that, now this antibiotic can be classified into the the broad range, or it is specific to the particular antibiotics, very selective antibiotics, selective molecules it is going to inhibit. So in that we can classify that is it a narrow spectrum antibiotic, broad spectrum antibiotic, or the extended spectrum antibiotics. Okay, so that classification is required. That is required when we want to, for example, quantify in terms of the secondary screening. Okay, and also that zone of inhibition. It is also important to know that whatever the area or whatever the diameter of this particular zone of inhibition you get, from that it is actually used to quantify that what is the efficiency or the effectivity of that particular means antibiotic producing microorganisms to create to make an antibiotic generate an antibiotic resistance against for example against a test of microorganisms. Okay, so you can see that how means this from crowded Pareto technique, how we can separate out your targeted antibody producing antibiotic producing microorganisms, and then we do the subculturing, and then we can classify that antibiotics into the types, and you can quantify it. Okay, that how much antibiotic is produced, how much, which type of antibiotic is produced, and so on. Okay, so by just making some slight modifications where we add the test or microorganisms, okay, onto these culture plates, which contains the individual colonies of the targeted microbes. Okay, so this is what the crowded Pareto technique is. Okay, so anyone has any doubt or questions in this part? Anyone? You have to tell, right? Yes or no. There should be some interaction. Anyway, so we looked into the crowded Pareto technique, and then comes another technique which is called the indicator dye technique. So probably we will stop here in today's class, and next class we will see that how we use these indicator dye techniques by using some sort of an dyes which generate some sort of color, okay, when the particular metabolite is produced, and that can be used to screen out the microorganisms which are responsible for the production of that particular metabolites. Okay, so if anyone has no questions, let us continue our discussion on this primary screening techniques in the next class. Okay, so thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.